Hey, everybody. It is another edition of Carps Corner that we're going to dive on into a post Mother's Day edition of Carps Corner. So hopefully all the men and women out there listening thanked the mothers in their life, whether it's wives, sisters, aunts, grandmothers, their own mother, whoever it may be. So hopefully out there, mothers don't get enough credit. And I'll be the first to tell you, and I'll start off with this. My mom and I go back and forth all the time. We're very similar in personality, and it's good and a bad thing. But she has been a huge influence in my life. I've been incredibly blessed to have her as my mother. Number one, receiving a lot of her physical attributes and gifts. My dad obviously played in the NFL, but a lot of that came from my mom. And so obviously receiving her genetics, that was fantastic, and thankful for that. But more importantly, I mean, and this is the case with so many players that you talk to. Mom is just a central figure in their life. She's the one that's making them food after practice, making bags, lunches, and snacks to go take in between games. Scheduling the carpools, getting them around, shuttling this and there, doing the laundry, their uniforms, getting them clothes, buying them shoes, all of those different things. And not to besmirch dads, but moms have the thankless jobs that nobody really appreciates. And my mom and I go back and forth all the time, and still have some classic battles, but I would not be where I am today. I wouldn't have had the success in athletics if it wasn't for my mom. And I know there are so many players who echo those same sentiments that I do, because their mom invested so heavily in them throughout their athletic career. And maybe they knew a ton about their sport. Maybe they didn't know anything about it, but being the support system, the psychiatrist, like I said, the Uber, running the carpool, the chef, doing all the laundry, making sure you have everything you need. And I always had those things provided for me, and they were always provided for me by my mom. And she did a fantastic job for me, and not only me, but my three younger brothers as well. And so we look at this post Mother Day's edition of Carps Corner. Just hopefully everybody out there thank their mother. It shouldn't be a year deal. They obviously get their day set aside here. Hopefully the weather is nice and it's good and it's refreshing and enjoyable, but they deserve far more than one day. And if you didn't do something special for your mother today, make sure you get it done, or on Sunday, make sure you get it done today, tomorrow, whenever. Sooner the better. Get a card, a thank you, a hug. You want to get her something special, that's great too. But make sure that you get out there and thank your mom, because they're the ones, especially if you're into sports, if you go back and look at the history of your life, of all the things that they usually did to kind of get you into that place and allow you to have success. So wanted to get all that off of the ground before we got the show going today. And as always, make sure if you're liking this, you're enjoying it, subscribe, so that way you can watch them each and every episode as they come to you. Comment, that way I can answer your questions, share it, tell your friends, do you like it, whatever you can do. I appreciate that. But if the more interaction you have with me, the more conversation we can get, the more questions I can answer, and hopefully provide you a little bit of insight into some of the things that I may know a little bit about, or be able to kind of pull the curtain away, tell some great stories, and kind of give everyone out there a little window into maybe, the NFL, college football, and really pro sports in general. So that is always my goal: educate, inform, and entertain. And so hopefully I can do some of those things. That's always my goal. But thank your mom. Make sure you do that. I tried to thank mine. I always fall short, but hopefully she ultimately knows how I feel. A couple of things I want to get into today. Oh, goodness. College football, transfer portal stuff, everything that's always happening. And this is something that you're going to continue to hear stories about, continue to hear different little anecdotal stories pop up from different schools, guys transferring, taking money here, doing this there, and then they ultimately leave, and why it happened, how it happened, all of the circumstances surrounding it. Did they ever really want to go there? And here's the thing with the portal, maybe they went somewhere just to get some cash early on. So dive into really one of the big signees, and one of the guys that really kicked off this name, image, and likeness thing to what we've seen it now in college football and really take off over the last year. players get in the NBA a little bit, but it's not really an NBA story as much as it is players, families, friends in the stands being part of everybody. And Chris Paul had some things that he tweeted out and, isn't really great for the state of our society. So hopefully we can talk about that and be better folks. And then lastly, there's some rookie of the year odds in the NFL. Who doesn't love that? You get the draft comes out, players go to their teams, sit there and look at it for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, boom, some odds come out and you get to figure out exactly how good these teams ultimately might be and how good and how impactful some of these rookies might be. So we'll get into all that and talk a little bit about, how these rookies might land and the offensive rookie of the year, year odds. Sports Betting Dime is who I'm pulling from today for this. They had some good stuff out there. So getting started. Quinn Ewers was one of the gems of, I believe, let's say the 2021 recruiting class. Comes in, reclassifies, gives up his senior year, enrolls in Ohio State a year early. Why? Well, it was right upon the approval of name, image, and likeness. And as soon as that happened, laws were getting thrown around everywhere. Local legislatures, state legislatures trying to figure out exactly how to do it, what to operate, what to put in place. Should there be guardrails? Is it for all amateur athletes? Is it just for college? Does high school get included? And so there's a bazillion different laws, each one in every different state, and how schools can interact with different people and different parties with it. And then who is also eligible for it. So Quinn Ewers, number one quarterback in the country, dude's got a wicked arm and he has a wicked mullet. Signed a big deal, kombucha tea and some other things, commits to Ohio State, reclassifies, comes in early, has all these deals. Part of the reason he did this is in Texas, the law on the books was you couldn't earn NIL money while you were still a Texas high school athlete. And as we saw in the previous episode, 32 players, the most of any state, were drafted that went to high school in the state of Texas. So obviously they're producing a lot of guys. Football is very important in the state of Texas. So there's NIL opportunities there. But at the time, and this law may even have been changed now because we're continuing to move back and forth. But at the time, Texas high school players could not profit off of their name, image, and likeness the same way college players could. And so with that, Quinn Ewers reclassifies, comes to Ohio State early, gets here right before camp, in 2 weeks into training camp, right before the season, makes it through the 2020 season, 2021 season, whatever, makes it through that season, then ultimately goes and transfers back to Texas afterwards. And as it happens, you're sitting there thinking, trying to figure out exactly, what's going on, why it happened. And so this will be, came in 2021. So this will be his first year ultimately at Texas. Kid's incredibly talented. Very, very talented arm. But he comes out, Players Tribune, who throws out there, and we'll throw up the little Instagram post with a quote from the Players Tribune, but said, "It's always been a dream of mine to be a Longhorn." Now, it was a huge coup for Ohio State to get Quinn Ewers. Coming to Ohio, thought, okay, his dad had some connections, actually had met his father before, worked in oil and gas, thinking, okay, Texas was kind of a dumpster fire at the time. They're moving on from Tom Herman. They're bringing in Sark, and who knows really how it's going to work. Enrolls early, reclassifies to come to Ohio State so he can get his NIL deal. Doesn't really play, gets in, I believe, one game. Simply due to the fact that he got here so late, it would have been impossible for any quarterback, no matter how talented they were, to be able to come in and ultimately play that quickly. So after the season, you could kind of see it towards the end of the year, maybe him shutting down a little bit, rolls back, and then throws that out there. So this opens up a number of questions. Did Ohio State get played? Was he upset due to the fact that when he got here, that he just wasn't anointed the starting quarterback? That's a possibility too. Or was it just all about the NIL dollars? And hey, I'm going to go to Ohio State. They'll let me reclassify. I can get in here early, get some money, and then I can get a fresh start ultimately somewhere else, most likely back in the state of Texas when I decide to transfer. Did Ohio State get played? Maybe. I think you're going to see a lot of this now in the name, image, and likeness world where, hey, someone offered me a huge deal. I'm going to go there maybe I play, maybe I don't, but I don't intend to be there more than a year. They gave me the biggest package, do a 1 year or whatever, however it looks, get as much cash as I can, and then ultimately jet out the door and transfer somewhere else. That's going to be something I think that we're going to see happening with recruits. And especially depending on the laws in different states and how they govern. And if you can in high school, maybe you can't, you can reclassify, go to this school, and they're going to take care of you early on. And you're not even really expected to play early on. So notice you get played maybe a little bit, possibly. I think you're going to see more of this, and I'm curious to see how they'll wrap legislation around it to try to ultimately get it stopped. You know, maybe it's the fact he came to Ohio State and was salty he didn't start. Dude, you got there 2 weeks into training camp, and I don't think that seems logical. You know, they understood when he was coming in, hey, you know, CJ Stroud was going to be the guy, and he had played, he had been here before. Him and Kyle McCord were kind of battling it out, but it's incredibly difficult to come in and play as a freshman at quarterback, especially if you're getting dropped in mid-camp. You don't even have summer, you don't have spring ball. Then ultimately, maybe it was just all about the cash, which, hey, I got a lot of cash here, got some stuff at Ohio State, got some, you know, some cars here at Ohio State. Reichard hooked me up. My guy, you know, Rick, who's, you know, a friend of mine, they did a great job, took care of him, got a big souped up truck, all of a sudden comes in, boom, I'm going to jettison, get on out of here after the season. You know, got my kombucha tea money and all this different stuff. So who knows how it ultimately works out. But coming out then saying it's always been a dream of mine to be a Longhorn, and maybe that's true. And there's guys who may have had dreams to go to different colleges, but they don't, due to the situation, maybe with the team, how good they are, the coaching staff, the turmoil, all of these different things. They can all play into it. But pretty amazing stuff to kind of see that and to see it vocalized in that manner and to really just be put on public display. That was kind of surprising to see, to tell you the truth, for him to be that public with it and put it out there. So I don't think it's going to be the last time you see this. And I honestly think it's going to be more commonplace than we really would like. And that is why I think some people want to get NIL under control a little bit, because nobody wants to see this stuff, you know, happening in the future. So some other things have been happening. NBA has been rolling on with their playoffs in the second round. And you got the Suns and Mavs in, you know, the gridlock series now. Suns looked like they were going to be able to take control of it. Luka's battled back. I believe it's tied 2-2 now there, but that's not what we're getting into. You know, Chris Paul, Suns point guard, you know, comes out and has this tweet. We'll throw this thing up here. Want to fine the players for talking stuff to the fans, but the fans can put hands on our families. Bleep that. So naturally that piques your interest. What does that mean? You got his families in the stands in Dallas. I mean, are people messing with his mom, his wife, his kids? And then you see another tweet by Dave McMenamin, who does a great job covering the NBA for ESPN. And it said, a source familiar, as we'll throw this up here now, a source familiar with Chris Paul's tweet after Game 4 told ESPN that Paul's mother had had her hands put on by Dallas fans, and Paul's wife was also pushed. To make matters worse, Paul's kids witnessed it and felt, quote, very unsafe, a source said. So everybody understands that you shouldn't be putting your hands on other fans, on players' families, all of those things. We get all that. That makes sense. But I want to drive down and dig down a little bit further. Where we're at as a society now, we're talking about sports. And I love sports. And I love the passion that drives sports, especially football, college and NFL. And college, absolutely, because there's ties that go with your families that run back generations. You attend the school there, it's your home state, all these different things. But the reality of now we're going to be intimidating and yelling at players' families. How his mom, his wife on Mother's Day? Like, folks, what are we talking about? Sunday afternoon. And I understand it's a playoff game and it's a bitter contest. But when did we get to this point where you got people staked out at Supreme Court justice's house because you don't like decisions they're going to render? You've got, you know, fans in games trying to intimidate players' families, putting their hands allegedly on women, nonetheless. Like, how did we get to this point in society? When did civility get kicked out the door. I'm as passionate as anybody. And I will give people the benefit of the doubt for raw emotions time after time after time. Because if you run hot, you're going to do some things you regret. And I understand that. A lot of people do. But at some point in time as well, like we're talking about people's families, their moms, their wives, their kids are seeing it. Human beings. So like I would challenge everybody a little bit, to have a little bit more discourse, like, and have a conversation, talk to somebody, but like for over a basketball game, like during a game, because Chris Paul didn't play great by any stretch, but like that has nothing to do with it. Like, and we're going to do that stuff. Like, I hope that this isn't true and that it's exaggerated, but we'll find out. There's going to probably be film. Heck, this might be coming up as this thing's airing, but let's get back to a little bit of civil discourse and respecting other human beings. I don't think that that's too much to ask. I hope it's not. Now that happened on Mother's Day. We celebrate moms, not yelling at them because their sons play basketball or any sport for that matter. All right. Wanted to get that off my chest. We'll put that to bed. Finish up here, the offensive rookie of the year odds. And I brought that up, earlier talking about it. They are from, sportsbettingdime.com, offensive rookie of the year odds that I'll throw up here. And we can talk about, odds on favorite. Number one is, we'll throw this thing up. Kenny Pickett sitting there. Makes a lot of sense. Quarterback for the Steelers, probably going to be the starter. And it shouldn't be this way, but it is in reality. I mean, the uniform you wear matters. Pittsburgh Steelers, beloved franchise, huge fan base in the NFL. Going to get the benefit of the doubt a lot of times for postseason awards because of the history that Pittsburgh has of success and doing things the right way. We got Kenny Pickett at 1, Drake London 2, Treylon Burks 3 with the Titans, Christian Watson with the Packers. Interesting pick. Breece Hall with the Jets, Garrett Wilson with the Jets, Chris Olave with the Saints. So we'll kind of roll through that. But Kenny Pickett sitting at plus 500. Decent value there. Decent value. Drake London with the Falcons. I think that he'll be a target, but I'm not a huge Marcus Mariota fan. Now, Des Ridder, the quarterback they drafted in the 3rd round of Cincinnati, he's sitting at the bottom of this. I believe he's 11th or 12th with the longest odds up at plus 1,400. But to be a good receiver and to be able to have a chance to win this thing, you have to have a good quarterback, someone that can get you the ball. I don't care if the quarterback's going to throw a lot of picks, but they have to be willing to throw it to you. So Treylon Burks at Tennessee has Ryan Tannehill. I like that a lot more than I like Drake London. And Drake London, better receiver, I think, at this point than Treylon Burks. But both those guys sitting there are plus 750. I like Burks better than London. Christian Watson, though, sitting at plus 800. You look at the Packers. Who are they going to throw the ball to? If Christian Watson is half as good as the Packers ultimately think he is, he might be your shoe-in to win this thing. And he might have 85 catches for 1,100 yards because he's got the baddest dude throwing him the football off of this list. And so plus 800, great value right there for Christian Watson, Packers wide receiver. If he's decent and he can get open, Aaron Rodgers will get him the ball. They lost Devontae Adams. I understand they brought in Sammy Watkins, but he's going to be the focal point right here. Christian Watson. He's the guy. And as I watch him run routes, he looks a lot like a Green Bay receiver with how they operate. Vertical breakers. Aaron will get him the ball in stride, and he's got good run after the catch ability. I like that. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, the Jets. I'm not sold on Zach Wilson yet. They're plus 900 and plus 1,000. I don't think there's great value there just because I've got to see more out of Zach Wilson first. I like Chris Olave with the Saints a lot better than I like those two. It has nothing to do with the quality of the players. It has to do with the quality of the situation. And so Olave is sitting there tied with Wilson at plus 1,000. Jameis Winston, or Seamus Winston, if you will, he's gonna throw the football down the field. Chris Olave is a great down the field receiver. So at plus 1,000, I like the odds. $100 when you get 1,000 right there. I like those odds. Here's why. Jameis Winston's last full year as a starter with the Bucs, when he had a loaded up offense, he led the league in touchdowns. He was first or second in the league in touchdowns, first or second in the league in yards, first or second in picks, first or second in sacks. I always reference that because that's incredibly hard to do, because that means, number one, you're playing well enough that you're throwing touchdowns, you're getting yards. Great. And you're doing that, but you're also somehow outplaying the fact that you're taking a lot of sacks and throwing a lot of picks. That's the only reason that's keeping you on the field. So that means you're a high risk, high reward guy. That'll hurt you as a quarterback. But if you're a receiver and you're Chris Olave, you want a dude that's going to push it down the field. So I love the value of Chris Olave. Jameis Winston might throw 30 interceptions again, but if he can get 9 touchdowns to Chris Olave and he has 1,200 yards, he's got a great shot at winning this thing. Kenneth Walker III, not a huge fan of the Seahawks. Sky Moore, Chiefs, maybe like, does he replace, Tyreek in Kansas City? I don't think I can get there. Tyreek's a special beast. Jameson Williams, I really like with the Lions, but I don't know if he's going to be healthy for the whole season. And so he's going to obviously have probably a donut hole in his stats because he's not going to be there. I would not anticipate the first maybe 3 to 6 weeks. Maybe they start him on the PUP list. I don't know. But the value for rookie of the year, Christian Watson, the Packers, plus 800. Chris Olave with the Saints, plus 1,000. I think those two are your value picks that have a great chance of hitting. They're a little bit down the board there where you're going to be able to make some cash on. So if you're a gambler, you're in a state that allows gambling, those might be your guys. So throw a couple shekels on them. And if you lose, don't blame me. But if you win, I'll take all the credit. So that was it's it for this edition of Carps Corner. Quick one. Like I said, like, subscribe, comment, ask questions, whatever you want to do. Share with friends. I appreciate all of this. Working on getting some guests here as we slow down a little bit. My guy AJ Hawk, bring him on. Some of the other guys who I've played with, to get some entertainment, get their perspective, tell some great, unique stories, and hopefully everybody will enjoy that. But until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll talk to you soon.